Hello, welcome to the John E. Marlow Guitar Series. My name is Candace Mowbray, and I'm the Education and Grants Specialist for Marlow Guitar International. I coordinate the pre-concert talks, and I'm really pleased to introduce tonight's guest speaker, Dr. Tracy Ann Smith. Dr. Smith will offer her insights about music on tonight's program and also share a conversation with tonight's featured artist, duo Amaral. Dr. Smith earned degrees from Yale and the University of Toronto, and she was the first person to earn a doctoral degree from Peabody Conservatory under the guidance of Manuel Barrueco. She's garnered praise for her expressive performances, rich tonal palette, and musical control. Composer Jacques Hétu described Dr. Smith as a great musician, full of feelings and colors. She's performed in Canada, the US, Mexico, Spain, Italy, Germany, and England, and her CD Lilac Star Bird was described as exceedingly beautiful by Soundboard magazine. Dr. Smith is a founding member of the acclaimed Chroma duo with guitarist Rob McDonald. She commissions, arranges, records, and premieres many new works for the guitar.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tracy Ann Smith. I'm a classical guitarist from Canada. I'm so glad to be back here, even virtually in the United States, as I studied at Peabody Conservatory for my doctorate, and as such, have fond memories of attending many Marlow Series guitar concerts in that time. I'd like to thank the Marlow Series for inviting me to do this pre-concert talk and interview with the stars of tonight's performance, duo Amaral. So the program tonight is a Latin American one, and the first half contains pieces that are unique to duo Amaral. So I'm going to let them tell you more about those pieces, and I'm going to focus on the second half of the program, Natalie's Suite Retratos and Assad's Tres Cenas Brasileiras. So the word retratos means portraits, and in Suite Retratos we have 4 portraits of some of the amazing musicians who were proponents of and who developed the genre of choro in Brazil. Cenas means scenes, and in his work, Assad shows us 3 Brazilian scenes. For my part, due to the constraints of time, today's lecture is going to be more of a sketch of Brazil, a brief history, and an explanation of some terms so that we can better appreciate the narrative that these pieces create. Composer Radamés Natali was in his own right a very important person in Brazil's history. He was born in 1906. He studied the piano and the violin, and later the guitar and cavaquinho, which is a small guitar with 4 strings. After graduating university, he gave a series of critically acclaimed piano recitals, but that was a small part of his career. He established himself as a pianist, a conductor, an arranger, and even became kind of an architect of Brazilian music, as he was the orchestral director at the Radio Nacional, a very important position, beginning in the 1930s. A prolific composer, his work list consists of symphonies, string quartets, 26 concertos, including 6 for our beloved guitar, ensemble music, and solo works as well. The word choro itself means to cry. That might seem at odds with some of the upbeat music you're going to hear tonight, but the cry is referring to the expressive and virtuosic wail of the soloist, like that guy really wails on the instrument. The style came of age in the early 20th century, and it developed from a culture that was already infused with African rhythms. So they took the Portuguese influence of European dance and mixed it with the African rhythm that they were being exposed to due to the Atlantic slave trade. Portugal not only colonized Brazil, but was a major exporter of African slaves at the time. Due to this, the cultures were intermingling. So you'll see the same sort of development of music in the United States as well, with the emergence of ragtime and blues, and the same thing going on in Cuba with dançon. So back to Brazil, though, the instrumentation of choro was samba style or bossa nova rhythms on guitar, flute or clarinet as soloist, and percussion. The players would play improvisatorily. They would get together and have jam sessions, all-night jam sessions, and play the same piece, for example, for 45 minutes, each trying to best the other. The accompanist playing wild chord changes, and the soloists with wild leaps in melody, dizzying speeds, just very almost competitive, good-natured atmosphere. So the Suite Retratos was composed between 1956 and 58. This was in a time when choro was really sort of out of fashion, but it's an homage to the great maestros of Brazilian choro. And each movement refers not only to one of these maestros, but also alludes to one of their pieces. The first movement was called Pixinguinha, after Pixinguinha, whose real name was Alfredo da Rocha Viana Filho, and it features his love song, Carinoso. Pixinguinha was one of the most eminent and prolific composers of choro. He was a great flute player and improviser. He was called the Bach of choro by musicologists. In 1922, he went to Paris with his group, and this was the first time a Brazilian group was contracted to perform abroad. As a result, he developed a devoted, strong following in France as well as in Brazil. The second movement is named after Ernesto Nazareth, who was born in 1863 and came of age during the Belle Époque of Brazil. At this time, choro was more of a style of playing than it was really a genre, but Nazareth moved choro forward, establishing it as a genre. Despite the popularity and critical acclaim his music received, Ernesto Nazareth didn't have an easy life. He was not blessed by fortune. He began to go deaf at the end of his life, and he even continued performing with his ear down by the piano, almost touching it. The third movement is based on Tres Estrelinas by Anacleto de Medeiros. He was born just a few years after Nazareth in 1866. He was another composer who was credited with developing choro from a style to a genre. He was also considered to be the creator of the Brazilian xota. And an interesting note is that a composer that you might also know, Heitor Villa-Lobos, used his piece Rasga Coração, or Torn or Rended Heart, in his orchestral work Choros Number 10, which is a wild piece, a piece that when it was premiered caused riots, much like Stravinsky's Rite of Spring. So check that out the next chance that you get. The fourth movement is based on Francisca Edwiges Neves Gonzaga, who is better known as Chiquinha Gonzaga. She was born in 1847, and she was the first woman conductor in Brazil. She was also a composer and pianist. This was quite unusual at that time. Women were not seen to be independent or intended to be independent. And she was even in an arranged marriage to a man from a prominent family. After she was married, the husband gave her an ultimatum: either it's the guitar or me. And she chose music. She chose the guitar and musical life. So as a result, she was excommunicated by her family, but nevertheless, she prevailed. She threw herself into musical life, and she was able to build up a reputation and the economic stability she needed to be an independent person. She really enraptured the Brazilian public, and her sheet music flew off the shelves. She became the first woman conductor and was called the Offenbach in skirts. So as I said, in the 1950s, choro fell out of fashion until a renaissance in the 1970s. Which brings us to the next piece on the program, Tres Cenas Brasileiras by Sergio Assad. Sergio and Odair Assad were born in Sao Paulo, Brazil in 1952 and 1956. When they were young, they showed amazing talent with the guitar, and their father taught them how to play choro, taught them to improvise, taught them the chord changes. And eventually they studied with Monina Tavora, who was an independently wealthy woman who also taught the amazing duo, the Abreu brothers. Besides becoming an amazing guitar duo, Sergio Assad has amassed an impressive number of compositions for both solo and duo guitar. This despite when he was at university, the academic world being dominated by the 12th tone method, and this kind of gave him a terrible lack of confidence in his direction, and in fact made him quit composing. He said he was feeling really bad with his little tonal pieces. However, he eventually took some private lessons in composition, and by 1980 he was reaffirmed with his direction. Interestingly enough, he saw Natali as his primary influence, and also Piazzolla influenced him a lot. Sergio's brother Odair said about Natali that he was our idol because he was writing already in the 60s in the style that is called today's crossover, mixing naturally and with great ease the Brazilian rhythms with jazz and classical style. So Tres Cenas Brasileiras was the first piece that Sergio Assad ever published a few years later in 1984. In it, you can hear the fusion of Brazilian music, jazz in the style of John McLaughlin, rock, as well as a general sophistication in the treatment of the material. You'll hear bossa nova rhythms, Mixolydian scales as used in Bayon melodies, as well as masterful contrapuntal techniques. For the composition folks among us, it is interesting to note that in the two pieces tonight, both Natali and Assad use a similar type of retrograde motion to develop their melodies. And if you want to learn more about this, or more that I can bring across in a little sketch, there is a wonderful dissertation available online by Marlow's own João Figueroa that goes into Assad's music and life in a lot more detail. So search that out if you're interested in learning more. I certainly learned a lot from it. So the three movements of Tres Cenas are Penote, Vitória Regina, and Recife dos Corais. I asked the wonderful Brazilian guitarist Fabio Zanon about the titles of the pieces and what they referred to. And he said that the three scenes described are: one, a horse bucking; two, Vitória Regina is a native Amazonian plant, which is a gigantic water lily that has leaves so large that a person can stand on them as they float in the water. And it was called after Queen Victoria by the British botanists who first classified it. And third, coral reef. So I hope you've learned a little bit about Brazilian styles and Brazilian history from my sketch. And I know you're going to love hearing the duo Amaral play these pieces. Thanks for listening. And now we have a little interview with Jorge Amaral and Mia Pomeranza Amaral. So welcome to Duo Amaral, Jorge and Mia. It's so exciting to see you guys again after so long. Just have a few questions to ask you about your wonderful program tonight. So the first one, tell me please about the piece that you commissioned. So you have Key West Suite by Jose Lescano. Yep. What can you tell us about this piece?
I was actually looking for a piece for viola and guitar, which is very rare in our repertoire.
Right.
And so my student and I were looking, and we came across one of his compositions, which is a sonata for viola and guitar by him, by Lescano. And as soon as I heard it, I absolutely loved it. So we purchased his score, and I coached it for 3 months because he was preparing for his bachelor recital anyway. And And so I immediately contact Jose, hey, can you write something for us? This is what we do, just to make sure he likes our playing, and he did. So he wrote this composition when he was doing a sabbatical
in Key West.
Key West.
Oh, nice.
So it's a three movement composition. And
so we're playing the first movement in the concert, and it's called the 7 Mile Bridge, which is the famous 7 Mile Bridge from Key West. So he was there for a year, right?
That's right.
And he went around. He's Cuban American, so he found a lot of influences from his heritage, and the other movements which were not playing this concert, they have a lot of stylistic rhythm from Cuba. And
the main reason why we commissioned it too was because we were in the process of recording our third album. We wanted to have Latin American music, and some of the pieces of our album are well known. So we wanted to introduce something that will match the program that we have, and that will be stylistically fit with that. But also, this composition has very formal structure. The melodic line is very formal. The harmonies are very formal, and the third movement is even more intellectual, but without losing the touch of having the fun of his roots, the Latin American roots.
Yeah, it's a great piece.
Wonderful. And the second movement, what's that like?
Well, it's called Bolero del Atardecer, which is Bolero is basically it's a Latin American Mexican compositional song. It's a binary form ballad that is very popular in Mexico and of course all Latin America. So the second movement has it really doesn't hide any roots from what the piece is. It's just very simple binary form, but it has also
kind of nostalgic.
Very nostalgic, very beautiful.
Nice. So if people want to hear the whole thing, they should buy your CD then?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, I have to say this. This over here, that represents the bridge my friend made. Nice. So that's the guitar bridge with the 7 Mile Bridge. So it's all connected anyway.
And who did the art for your CD cover?
Oh my gosh, my friend, we were friends in Israel since we were 5. And, I moved to the US, she moved to Berlin. We both have kids now, and she's always been an incredible artist. Her name is Tlalit, which is a very unique name also in Hebrew. It's like some kind of wild flower.
Oh, wow.
We've been in touch since, and she did all of our covers, actually, all of our CD covers.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, and the other piece that we want to make sure we talk about, Jorge, is your dad's piece, Saggio. So I understand that it was 3 independent pieces and you sort of turned those into movements and arranged it for guitars, or?
That's right. I grew up with this music since I was a child. So for me, it was more a nostalgic necessity to do something like that also. So I picked the 3 movements that they were separated. So my father, he was a composer, but was never too prolific. He wrote a lot of pieces. So these are works that he wrote when he was a young student. So then he became a choir director, a cappell master at the Cathedral of Guadalajara. So he developed himself as a musician, a church musician, the actual function of the real Kapellmeister, which, and so I put together this music and I transcribed it. I started with the first movement, which is very short. It's just 2 minutes long. And I asked I was going to say my wife, Mia, I played a little bit to see how it sounds, and see if it actually works. And it turned out to work great. And so the third movement, it was very short. So it was kind of like a rondo piece. It was 4 pages long. So I asked my father, like, hey, Dad, would you mind like building some themes? And I asked him, give me a fugato, develop the themes and make augmentations, diminutions, all of those, formal classical compositional techniques. And so he did. and the reason why I wanted him to expand it is because we were in the production of our first CD, so
Yeah.
we had
We had
literally had we had a month before or 2 weeks before prior to the recording, and my brother was still sending me PDFs.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is what he changed.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have time right now.
Yeah.
You know, so we went to the recording studio with the piece still. That was in a way a mistake from a young professional. I was still learning the techniques of recording, and I quickly learned that I should never do that again. So,
but it's a beautiful piece. The second movement is so like heart wrenching, really.
Very beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Which is original for
cello.
So the first movement is original for piano. The second movement is original for cello and piano.
Right.
Which is and that was a challenge to put it together, because the register that the cello has, and the piano, of course, but it turned out to be great. It's just a handbreaker. It just really destroys your hands to do it, but it's possible.
But it's worth it.
I think it works.
It's beautiful.
Good.
And we published it. We actually published it.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So if you want to play it yourself.
Yeah, you break your hands on the second movement.
Excellent. So did you both come from musical families then? Mia, did you come from a musical family?
My grandmother from my mother's side was an accomplished pianist, but then she had 4 kids, so she became a mother more. And my father plays, you know, he can't read music, but he just plays for fun. He has a beautiful voice, actually. He has great hands. Like, he just does an arpeggio on guitar, perfect. Never studied.
One of those, yeah.
Yeah,
one of those people.
One of those. Right. So I would say no. I mean, everybody plays, but not professionally. I'm the first professional musician. And I started, I wanted to play the saxophone. And then I went to a teacher, and I was 7, I think, and he told me, come back in 3 years, your lungs are too small, just like that. So a friend of my mother played guitar, so he said, I'll teach you guitar until then. And that's how it happened for me. It was a random, yeah. But his father was a musician, his grandfather was a musician.
That's right.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now we're working on the 5th generation with my daughter.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask. You have 2 children, and you're kind of creating a musical family of your own now. We are. We believe that music is, you know, whether she wants to be a musician or not, that's going to be her choice. Yeah. But we think music for kids is so important for the mind and for development and for
discipline,
everything. It's just so important.
Achievement, short-term.
Exactly. And so she does piano. We did not want to do guitar with her because
we wanted to be sane.
We would have both of us, you know, on top of her, it would be too much. So she does piano. We can only help her with, we can't help her with technique. We don't know. We just help her with notes and rhythms. Which
makes the relationship more
healthy.
Yeah. And I've heard some videos of her playing, and she sounds wonderful. So I'm sure you're very supportive parents, but you guys also teach guitar in the DC area, is that right?
DC and Baltimore. Yes.
Well, I know that the audience, when they hear you guys play, they're just going to be hoping to get into lessons or to get their children into lessons. So how do they do that if they want to contact you to set up some lessons?
We teach currently online until this pandemic will be over, but they can visit our website, doamaral.com, or our Facebook, leave us a message, and we teach at Levine Music and in the International School of Music.
She teaches at Levine.
I teach at Levine. We teach at ISM, and we teach in our home studio. So
which our studio is actually growing quite.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, the online lessons were, you know, like every musician probably, all of us were concerned with the situation, and we were very privileged and lucky, and we're very grateful that the situation for us has been great. We even prior to the pandemic, we've been teaching online before. So even when Skype started, we were already doing that. So we were very, very experienced and very comfortable with online teaching. So, but the difficulty, our concern was when the pandemic starts, like, are the teachers and the students or the parents are going to be comfortable with the situation? And
Right.
thank goodness they actually realize, as long as there's supportive parents and help, that everybody's on the same page, the parents, the student, the teacher, when the communication is very clear and the motivation is clear, it actually works wonderfully.
Great. Well, I think we should probably wrap this up because I know people are going to be very excited to hear you guys play. I know I am. So, well, I'd say have a wonderful concert. Maybe I should, just to, complete the illusion. Grab your guitars and go out of the green room. All right. Thanks so much to both of you. And thanks to Marlow Series for having us today. We really enjoyed it. I love seeing you guys again. And can't wait to hear you play.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. I'm Danielle Cumming, Artistic Director of Marlow Guitar International, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you here tonight to this concert by duo Amaral, the husband and wife team of Jorge Amaral and Mia Pomeranz. This is our 5th concert in our season of online presentations, and we're just so delighted to have you along. Please don't forget to join the Zoom call, the post-concert reception, by clicking on the second link that's in your registration email. There you can speak with Jorge and Mia, ask a question, or make a comment. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Enjoy tonight's performance.
Thank you very much for listening to our concert. This is a difficult time for everyone, being at home so much and not being able to come to live concerts, but we wanted to thank the Marlow series and Danielle and Joao for having us. They have been great. They have maintained the series alive, and that's amazing. The piece we just performed was composed by Jorge's father. It was actually 3 independent pieces, which Jorge put together as one piece. And we expanded the third movement. It was very short, but we expanded and added a fugato, as you heard, added themes and variations from the opening, and made it a really exciting work for the guitar repertoire. We will continue with a piece by yes, we're doing a Latin American program, and this is going to be the Brazil side, and we went from Mexico before and Cuban American composer for our first piece. In conclusion of the concert, thank you again for coming tonight. We will continue with Brazil and with Sergio Assad from the fabulous Assad guitar duo, who play, of course, and Assad is also an amazing composer. We love his pieces, we love his character, we love the jazz elements that he uses. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much.